There is one movie coming out this year that all of us horror fans have been waiting for. Here in the horror community, we are already anticipating it to be the best movie of the year. And of course, you know what I'm talking about. That's right, the Barbie movie. And in tribute to the scariest movie of all times, we are going to be talking about other killer dolls on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
Hello and welcome to a very special Cracktastic Plastic episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. And much like our brother show here on the PFPN network, or Prescribed Films Podcast Network, we're going to be talking about dolls.
Yay!
That's what those guys love talking
I
about.
should
Yeah,
have
they talk
invited
about-
the boys over.
They like talking about dolls over there at Cracktastic Plastic.
Doll talk.
This is episode 285 called Killer Dolls Part 2. Kept waiting for you to be like, it's action figures.
Nah, I'm over that. I call them toys, but
Okay.
it's whatever.
Dang it. I was hoping.
Nice try.
They're action figures, gosh.
There you go.
This is your first time listening to our show. Let me explain. Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast. We're a group of friends. We get together, we pick a topic, and we discuss films within that topic. We speak openly and freely, so there may be spoilers, just to let you know. Do you have a place where
Yeah.
you belong in this world?
Oh, doubtful.
As a horror fan, do you feel outcast because you watch Friday the 13th films and all your friends watch Fast and the Furious films? First of all, you need new friends. Second of all, you should become an attacker. You can join this special group of horror fans and get all kinds of perks that is exclusive only to the attackers. You can get bonus episodes of the show, early access to the main show. You can get our various YouTube shows like video updates, Insane Mike's Women in Top 10 lists, killer critiques. You can get your own membership card, certificate, and sticker. You can even get original art by me called Mikey's Monsters, where I draw you as a monster of my choice.
Big hit amongst the attackers.
You get exclusive invites to our different events, like our monthly horror hangout, different watch parties that we do, and even get to join our chat called Attack of the Killer Chat. You need to become a member of the Attack of the Killer podcast family by becoming an attacker like these amazing people.
Yeah, like Timothy Lennerer, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Gotzel, Stephen Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Moeller, Rod Hutchinson, Hot Rod, Carmen D. Haig, Abraham Marino, Jacob Book, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Mark Srood, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Emily Randolph, and Bill Fisher.
That is an amazing group of people that I would like to be a part of.
Heck yeah.
And you can too.
Oh.
Just go to jointheattackers.com to become an attacker today. Again, that site is jointheattackers.com.
You guys are missing out on fun features like this killer chat where I look away from my phone for a minute today and I found out the maximum notifications that my phone will allow is 99 plus. That's what it showed. And all because one jerkface had to put, hey, let's play the game of replace your favorite movie, one word in your favorite horror movie with butthole. And then then my phone exploded. I had to throw it in the trash and come back later.
Who did that?
I can't remember, but Emily or
I was gonna say,
Bill
well, that
or
sounds like
somebody.
a Bill. I was
It
gonna
was
say
probably
that
Bill.
sounds like Bill.
gosh
It was
dang.
me.
It was you. Yeah, it was hilarious, but gosh dang, things you're missing out on. Anyway,
That's what you're missing.
over
So-
100 new movie titles. Anyway,
So again, that's jointheattackers.com. And now it's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He's such a Transformers nerd that he has lost sleep wondering if Transformers get health insurance or car insurance. Jason!
That's great. I'm going to use that, and I'm also actually excited for the Barbie movie. Thanks, everybody.
I'm not going to lie, so am I. He invested all of his money in a Sylvester Stallone action figure. Now his finances are a little rocky. Tad!
I have several Stallone action figures. Hey, guys.
Of course you do. He asked his wife's creepy doll collection if they were possessed, and he was relieved when they said no. Andy!
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
We are coming up to one of our favorite times of the year. That's right, the new season of Joe Bob's Last Drive-In.
Oh,
When
yes.
does it start again?
21st.
Yeah. And there's only one place you can see that, and that's on Shudder. But Shudder is so much more than just the home of Joe Bob Briggs. There's so many classic movies, original films, even flicks you have never even heard of before. And now is the time to start watching Shudder. Get a month of Shudder for free thanks to us here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. Enter our promo code AOTKP and get a 30-day free trial of the best in horror streaming. Again, that promo code is AOTKP. Why are you laughing?
I'm glad you're slowing down on that. That's good. It's good for everyone.
Yeah. All right. And I hope everybody listening to our show is entertained. And that is why we do it. For you guys.
Yeah.
Because we also like to be entertained.
Yeah,
whether
we hate each other, but we do it for you guys.
Just for you guys.
Absolutely.
Truer words never spoken.
So, but my point is, we all like to be entertained as well, whether it be listening to podcasts or watching movies or television. So here's Tad with what we watched.
Well, as most of you know, I usually use Letterboxd to see what I've watched, and I'm looking at mine, and I didn't even add the movies from this episode, so I'm in trouble.
Uh-oh.
But, Jason, what have you watched?
Oh, man, I'm excited to talk about the things I watched tonight. I also am fully aware that I was totally trying to ruin your segue, Mike. I was trying real hard. That's going to be my goal for this episode, is to screw all of them up.
You're doing great so far.
Thanks. Well, I'll just get it out of the way because I know you went and saw today Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Got to go on a hot date with my lady and got her to the movie theater.
Yeah, weird.
I know. I had to wine and dine her all day just to get that to happen. But
And you took her to this?
yeah, right? What a great date I am.
And what did she think? I
Dinner,
don't care what you
dancing, and
think.
Dungeons and Dragons.
All the D's. We'll stop there. Anyway, yeah,
That is where it stopped, I imagine.
come on. No, she loved it in the movie. Come on, stop it. No, yeah. No, I loved the movie. It was so great for all the reasons. I don't know. Fuck the haters. I said F and then said fuck. Fuck the haters. I can't stand it. This movie was awesome.
This movie was so much fun.
And
It has
it's-
haters?
yeah, I didn't
because
realize
it
had
exists in the world.
Oh, because we
Well,
have
everything has haters.
But this
Because we
movie,
have the internet,
this
yeah.
movie might go down as like the best comedy of the year. Jesus Christ, I laughed so fucking hard. It is so funny,
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah.
and it's not
But
just Chris Pine. He's awesome in it, but it's great.
Well,
it's great.
it's that whole dynamic of those characters, you
Yep.
know, and that's where the comedy comes from, is in the characters and how they react to situations and deal with situations, as opposed to being like slapsticky or whatever. You know, it's the wizardy dude.
Oh yeah, he was
fell
our
in
favorite.
love with him.
He was
yeah,
our favorite.
and now I want to follow him as an actor.
Yeah.
You know, I immediately went to IMDb right after to see what else he was in.
Fell in love with a wizard.
Okay. So I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see it too?
You know, I've never played D&D. I saw the trailer, and it did not appeal to me. But I was like, I don't understand the culture. So maybe my like only insight into it is Stranger Things and like the smelly kids in school. So I'm like, I don't get how. I was like, I don't.
D&D in school, and I was
It's
smelly.
just another fantasy movie like Lord of the Rings.
But
or
it just
stuff like
the comedy did not seem like appeal to me. But then again, trailers always
Sure.
are hard
Misleading.
to gauge. Yeah. So
I haven't went back to watch the trailer to see how it did do with the comedy.
I kind of grew up on the Saturday morning cartoons,
Yeah,
so I'm
dude.
willing to give it a chance.
And they're in there. It's so awesome.
Okay, so the spoilers. It's on my list of what we watched. I'll just go ahead and finish saying what I was going to say right now. Yeah, I wasn't going to spoil that, but yeah, I about jumped out of my seat, and when I saw first you see them in the background, but then they keep popping back up
Yeah, it's
during that whole final thing.
It's mostly from the distance or from behind, and that's just all I needed, and it was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't. I kind of feel like this movie has a broad appeal to everybody. And I mean, yes, I played D&D back in the day, and I feel like I have a decent amount of knowledge. And Simon plays it a lot. So what's great is like you have somebody who, like myself, who's out of touch with it, and somebody who's currently in it, and both enjoyed it immensely and picked up on a lot of the connections to the game, like some of the monsters, you get like the gelatinous cube.
Yeah, I
in
was the only
there.
one in the theater to yell out, "Gelatinous kid!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the mimics.
Same.
Yep.
Having those in there, and then they name drop some things like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. And then of course, old school D&D fans like us picking up on the Saturday morning cartoon characters in the background. But at the same time, I feel like this also can have a broad appeal for people who don't have any interest.
Oh, sure.
Because I'll tell you, like, the first thing that springs to my mind is like I follow this world and all of its mythology way better than I ever had with Harry Potter. Like watching that very first Harry Potter, I was kind of done with the whole series because there was so much going on that I had no connection to. I had no understanding of the lore. They're saying words that I'm like, is that English? Because it's part of their world, but I don't understand it. And so I have a huge disconnect with Harry Potter. But
okay, boomer.
yeah, whatever. And I feel like this has
Jeez.
has enough world building without over explaining everything that it feels easy to follow at the same time.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of inside baseball, really. Just
Yeah.
sweet little references for anyone.
What did Michelle think?
She really liked it. She had a lot of fun.
She turning around on movies then?
Oh, no. Oh, and I mean, at the same time, like, the movie was almost over, and I look over, and she's got her fingers in her ears because it was loud as hell. And I was just like, oh, okay, she's having a hard time. But anyway, it's about over. But then I was going to go to my next movie that she watched with me, not in the theater, but at home. And because it's about video games, one video game that was really awesome is called Tetris.
Oh, you watched that? I saw the trailer for it just over the weekend, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. And then I saw Apple TV, and I'm like, oh, I'll never see it.
Yep, starring Taron Egerton. It was awesome. It was
Mr.
like,
Elton John and Kingsman himself.
yep,
He's great.
really is. And this movie's awesome because no one knows. I mean, I assume it's dramatized, but still, like, any of the backstory of how this game became what it is today is no one knows about its Russian ties and all that stuff. It was so cool to just see a dramatized version of this documentary of Tetris, and they did a lot of really fun, with like scene changes. It'll switch to video game type stuff, or a scene will start pixelated and turn into the real. They did a lot of video gaming to the movie. It was kind of neat, but not too much, I don't think.
What a time. Like, we have in the same weekend Dungeons and Dragons, Tetris, and
Tetris biopic.
and
no less.
and Air, a movie about the creation of Air Jordan shoes.
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
I know that there's a documentary that's out on GoldenEye, just how much of a phenomenon that was when on N64. It's called like Golden Era, and it's like a feature-length documentary just on GoldenEye.
Wow.
And then the last thing I'll talk about, I didn't get to watch with Michelle, only because I didn't want to wait for her. And it's a 6-part miniseries, and I'm so excited that when we got Showtime to watch Yellow Jackets, that means I got to watch this. And it fucking has just blown me away. It stuck with me. I watched 2 episodes every night for 3 days, and I just absorbed it. I've obsessed about it. It's followed me since then. George and Tammy, featuring Jessica Chastain
Oh,
and
wow,
Michael
okay.
Shannon, about George Jones and Tammy Wynette,
Interesting.
the rise and fall of country music's king and queen. It was fucking
Shannon's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon.
I've liked
guys.
everything I've seen Michael Shannon in.
Absolutely. Not very often, but once in a while there'd be like, holy shit, that's George Jones. Just had those nice moments. And
Yeah.
I think Jessica Chastain's definitely one of my movie girlfriends. Gosh,
She's awesome.
she's awesome. And Steve Zahn's in it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think it's on Showtime, but it's phenomenal. The music is so good. I've been listening to George Jones nonstop since. It's been kind of nuts because I'm not really a country guy, but my goodness, I never realized how autobiographical those two sang over those years.
Oh, really?
Because you might have heard the songs. I mean, if for those who do like country music and have listened to it, you'll know the songs, but to see them placed into the timeline of their life and how that song is holy shit, that's about that. And that song's about that. And to see it just all interconnect in it, it's just amazing. But that's the best thing I've watched. I loved it so much. George and Tammy, and that's what I watched.
Excellent. Mike, what have you watched?
Okay, so I only had a couple things. So, and I already said my piece on Dungeons and Dragons. So, which is good because the other thing that I watched, I also watched a miniseries or whatever you want to call it on Paramount Plus that came out last year that I too am highly obsessed with, and I'm mad at myself for not watching it sooner because it's everything that I love, and I tried to rein myself in by taking notes so I'm just not gushing and going on forever about this. But then my notes turned into 2 pages anyway. And I'm talking about from last year, The Offer, the bio series about the making of The Godfather.
Oh, yeah. I watched it.
Oh my God, so good. Well, I love gangster films. I love movies and shows about making movies.
I like it better. I'd rather watch it than watch The Godfather.
I agree. Although it does make you want to watch The Godfather once it's over, doesn't it?
Yes.
It did me, yeah. So for those who don't know, it's about the producer of the film, Albert Rudy, who is making the movie The Godfather, showing his struggles fighting with the studio, getting heat from the mob, and then becoming BFFs with one of the top mob bosses. And all of it just to try to get a film made and sacrificing everything to get Coppola's vision. Amazing characters where everyone there's so many amazing characters in this, so many characters that you hate 1 minute for being an obstacle for Rudy, and then the next minute you're loving them because now they're the movie's biggest supporter. Such a great cast. Miles Teller plays Rudy. Matthew Good plays Robert Evans, who's the head of Paramount, who's probably, I don't know, I go back and forth on who my favorite character is, but he might be my favorite character. He is so full of himself and obnoxious, but it kind of sucks because you kind of feel like he has every right to be full of himself and obnoxious. My favorite casting was Dan Fogler as Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, you love him.
I do love him, and it may seem like an odd choice, but physically spot on. He just looks
sense.
Francis Ford Coppola. And you got Colin Hanks in there, who is I'm still not 100% sure of what his job title was at Paramount, but he was kind of head of the business side of things, and he's probably one of the biggest quote unquote villains of the movie, but
Stick in the mud.
yeah. But even by the end, he's hugging Rudy and high-fiving Coppola, and it's just amazing that there's all these characters at one point or another are pieces of crap, but then you're rooting for them by the end. I can never say his name right. Govini.
Giovanni Ribisi.
There you go. He plays Joe Colombo, the mob boss who tries to stop the movie, but then ends up becoming really close friends with Rudy and a big supporter of the movie. I loved him too. Like he stole the show anytime he came up on screen. He just was just so much like your stereotype gangster guy. I'm gonna. I I listed so many of the actors and characters. I will try to jump ahead here. Another thing I really liked about it is like usually when you get like Hollywood biopics like this, they usually really exploit like the drug use or alcohol abuse and the sex and infidelity and all that stuff. And now the show has it, but it's not a major focus. A lot of those things are in service to like the story or the characters. Like for example, the head of Paramount, Evans, his wife ends up leaving him at one point, and he kind of falls apart. And he's like a guy who's like this like puppeteer for everybody, even his own bosses. He like manipulates and gets done what he wants done. And then, but his whole life comes kind of crashing down when his wife leaves him. And so he ends up like, drinking too much, doing coke. There's a couple times where he's doing cocaine in the movie, but it's not heavily focused on either. It's
They
mostly
tackle most of that in The Kid Stays in the Picture, which is a great documentary about Bob Evans. But sorry,
Oh,
just
okay.
wanted to throw that in there.
well, and that's the thing. If it was a bigger part of his story, I really think kudos to the show for not, forcing that down our throats as the viewer, because just so many biopics you see about celebrities and whatnot just really focuses on the bad stuff, and what is great is just like everything this guy goes through. Like every time he gets a victory, there's a couple other things that get in the way, but he rarely lets it stop him and get him down. And it's so great. And another great example of what I'm talking about too, with like the exploitation side of things. There's the president of the entire company that owns Paramount, Bluehorn, really takes a liking to the secretary or his Rudy's assistant, Betty. And unlike what you would see where in other, films or whatever, where we just go down this road of like using her body and using sex to get what she wants, it really comes off a lot more innocent than that in this. It's basically just comes off by the end of like she just befriends a man who everyone else is intimidated by, so he's deep down probably really alone. Sure, she flirts with him and whatnot, but you really get a sense that both of them are on the same page of where their relationship is. And, it's so good. Jason, you would love it. You got to check it out.
I've seen it on there. I've been wanting to. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm ready to rewatch it again. I'll see you guys. Anyway, that's what I watched.
All right, Andy, what have you watched?
I haven't really seen anything new per se, but I will probably check out the Dungeons and Dragons one now, and I'll just throw my 2 cents in on it. Um, it's better to see kids, since they had a big uproar of it back in the 1980s, because, basically either you're a metalhead, Satan worshiper, but it's better to see kids communing and cooperating together, rolling dice, than it is to see them pointing AR-15s at each other. So I'll just leave it at that. I've been watching a series that I love that's finally back, and it's on Amazon Prime. And I actually, believe it or not, Tad, I fucking love something that Jordan Peele produces and is involved in, and it's called Hunters. You guys remember that show?
Is it not Al Pacino? Is it?
Yeah.
It's.
Oh yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
The alternate
Yeah, Al
reality.
Pacino, and he just I won't spoil it, but it's about these people, and it's set in the 1970s, and I love time oriented pieces like this, and it's all across, it can be in New York, it's in Buenos Aires, it's in Spain, and it's just these group of Jewish people, and well, they're not all Jewish actually. There's an Asian guy, and there's a couple of black girls. There's a nun, and they're all hunting Nazis that escaped the war, and it's fucking awesome. It's brutal. I mean, they do not screw around. I mean, they will. If they find a Nazi, I mean, they'll kill them in front of their kids. They flat don't give a shit. Um, uh, Jennifer Jason Leigh is in this season, and she's awesome in it. Uh, we didn't get to see. We saw that Hitler was still alive in the last season, and I'll spoil it a little bit. Uh, and the guy who plays Hitler is an aging Udo Kerr, and he's awesome as
That
Hitler.
makes sense.
Wow.
It's it is so good. I recommend anybody check it out. Um, I've also, I've had a lot of been watching a lot of my Vinegar Syndrome stuff that I had, sitting on the shelf. I watched Adam Rifkin's, or Riff Coogan, if you want to get particular, Invisible Maniac.
Oh, nice.
Is it a good movie? Not really. But is it a guilty pleasure of mine? Yeah, it kind of is. Basically, it's this. Well, I mean, it's what the title says. It's this guy that's a lunatic scientist that escapes an asylum, and he figures out how to make himself invisible, and he's like teaching summer school, and the kids start flipping him too much shit, and he ends up bumping them off one by one. I also watched Slaughterhouse Rock, which was not what I expected. I mean, I would assume probably Mike knows about this movie, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen it, but
It's-
I'm literally picturing the movie poster in my head.
Yeah, and it's called Slaughterhouse Rock, so I figured it was going to be more along the lines of Rock and Roll Nightmare or Hard Rock Zombies, like actually have a music group in it, and this does, but it's like barely anything to do with what the film is. I mean, the film takes place on Alcatraz as well, which I was not expecting that. I mean, it's Tony Basil is one of like the lead people in it, like, Oh Mickey, You're So Fine, which I wasn't expecting that either. But this was part of like a 2 DVD set, thing. But I was just like, one of the main reasons why I bought it, I was just like, I always saw this, poster, in like the video stores when I was a kid. I was just like, okay, I'll just check it off the list. Screw it. But yeah, not a good movie. Not really good. I won't really even elaborate because it's not really worth it. But I mean, you guys can look into it, but it's not that great. I also ended up watching the Stallone superhero movie Samaritan. Have you guys seen this yet? It's free on
Saw
Prime.
the trailer.
I couldn't decide if it looked.
Yeah, I was
Good or-
kind of divided on it. Yeah.
I'll call it. It's okay.
Yep, that sounds.
It's okay. It's nothing, super special. It's worth a watch. It's just this kid that lives in a really crappy neighborhood, full of crime. And what was that superhero movie with Will Smith where he's kind of a dick?
Hancock.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Only I would say this is
The
actually
Oscars.
better. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call him a superhero. More like a supervillain.
Damn.
But I like this better than Hancock. I mean, it's just him kind of befriending this kid. Thinks like the world of him because he suspects that he's this old superhero named Samaritan, and Stallone just he wants to be just left alone. I mean, he just works on a garbage truck and he picks shit out of the garbage.
just
He
leave
fixes-
me alone.
Yeah, I just want to pick up the garbage. Leave out the can, they'll throw it in the truck. That's all I do.
I like Tad's impressions too because they're not good, and that's why Andy's are good. And they're great for that reason. But Tad's is good because but he does it, and I love it. I love him for it.
But yeah, it's just like little. It's kind of like a superhero coming of age story. You know how he's like that he wants him to teach him how to fight. You know, to fight these gangsters around there, and his mom doesn't make enough money, and then it kind of in a weird way, it's kind of reminded me of VFW in like the smallest sense of where like there's like no law and order like where they're living, and like it's just every kind of bad element is around them everywhere, and nobody does nothing, about it. It's just the real shitty neighborhood. And eventually, they keep messing with this kid, and he just gets fed up with it, and the superhero in him comes back. But there's a little bit of a twist to it, but I'll let you guys decide for yourself. But that and just me kind of binging, old school X-Files and watching Hunters with the wife, and that's all. That's what I watched.
I was very confused for a second there because you said VFW and my brain went to UHF, and I was like, "Huh, that's an interesting comparison." Then I'm like, "Wait, okay, I know what he's talking about. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep a lot last night, guys." I didn't. I was like, man, my letterbox, like I said, doesn't even have the movies. It has one movie from. I swear I watched the others, guys. But I was trying to think of what I watched, and luckily Jason said a trigger word when he was talking. I've watched Yellow Jackets, keeping up on season
Movie's
2.
so
I'm meaning to watch that.
Love season 1. I'm not sure. They had a moment in season 2 so far that was batshit crazy awesome. Yep. But I'm struggling with their current day story.
Mm-hmm.
Because the show goes back and forth from current to past, and slowly they're like linking the two together really slowly. In the first season, it was like all a mystery, like filling that gap of what happened between. So we're still filling that gap, and we're learning some crazy stuff. But I just do not care about their present versions anymore. And even Elijah Wood, like, he's hilarious, and he's adore awesome. That man. Yep. He's like my favorite human alive, but I just can't, I just don't care. And it's like I find myself watching the new season and just wanting, I want to go back to the when they were kids in the woods. Like, that's all right. Maybe that's because that's so engaging that it's really killing the present, but I'm like, there's
still the mystery in the past stuff is like real. There still feels like stakes, even though we know the future, but we don't.
Yeah.
And but the mysteries they have going in the present, it's like, I don't care about some hippie group and
that storyline really is bothering me.
Yeah,
Juliette Lewis's character.
I know,
is just,
she's tied
I'm
up
so bored.
basically, and she's your best character, and she's not getting to do anything because she's stuck at this stupid camp. And
I will say, Christina Ricci and Elijah Wood together is really fantastic. I fucking love both of them, and having them share. They're both playing lunatics with no lives that think they're detectives. It's that is very funny, but only because it's elevated from their great just out there performances from both of them, fully committing to these ridiculous cartoony characters. But that's really what I've been watching, and I guess. Saturday, I sort of watched Empire Records on the big screen.
Nice.
Because it was Rex Manning Day, but I was also watching UFC fights on my laptop at the same time. So the advantages of being upstairs where I won't be bothering anybody, so I can do to multitask. And I've watched a lot of Snake Alley films, so that's sort of what's been taking up my time. I haven't been to the theater, but I have tickets to go see Renfield and Evil Dead Rise. So
nice.
next time we record, I will have so much to say, hopefully.
Oh, and we also got to watch The Horde. Remember how good that was?
That was so much fun.
Party?
Yeah, everyone came to the watch party. Mike and Andy were both there.
It was so great.
It was
in the future past.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Anyway,
that's what I watched.
All right, so we should probably get into the films for this episode. Jason, where are we going to start here with Killer Dolls?
Today we're starting way back in 1978 with the film Magic.
When your heart begins to pound, when your mind begins to go, keep telling yourself, it's only a movie.
You do magic too?
Corky does magic. I only do tricks.
There's never been a magician like him. How long you been like this, kid?
You never really told why you were here.
Hiding. Was in bad shape in New York.
You want success, but you're afraid of it.
I figured I'd stop by here and ask you folks about you.
Not afraid.
Where were you living? What city? How many kids?
I'm not afraid.
Never expected to find you. I've loved you all my damn life.
I won't be here!
I was afraid of success. Like you said, I needed to get my head on straight.
And now you're fine?
Sure, on account of Peg. I've known her ever since high school. I never figured I'd have a chance with her.
Peggy Ann, no, please, let me follow. Wherever you go.
It's you and me take her. Now everything's changed. She believes me.
A man appears after 15 years. Says run away with me.
Don't do it. Oh, please, don't kill her.
No, I can't do it! I won't do it! You can't leave me! Magic. A terrifying love story. Joseph E. Levine presents Magic, starring Anthony Hopkins and Margaret, Burgess Meredith, Ed Lauter, distributed by 20th Century Fox.
Like the man said, Corky, played by Anthony Hopkins, a failed magician, adopts a new ventriloquist act with an abrasive dummy named Fats, and suddenly finds himself lined up for a television show. When the unbalanced Corky fears he won't pass the required mental exam, because that's a thing, he runs away with Fats to his hometown, where he meets an old love from high school, Peggy, played by the gorgeous Anne Margaret. Oh my goodness. Corky persuades Peggy to leave her loveless marriage, but Fats, who seems to be taking on a mind of his own, doesn't approve of the relationship. Directed by Richard Attenborough. Films will find a way. Screenplay, William Goldman. He's done everything. That's like a really...
Right.
That dude's written some stuff. For example,
And
Princess
things.
Bride, Marathon Man, Butch Cassidy, Misery, All the President's Men, Wild Card. So many things. Heat. Yeah, this is good. This is good.
This movie's fucking
yeah.
rules. Is this
Oh,
first time
yeah.
watch for anybody?
Me. That's the
Yes.
first time.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was when we did Killer Dolls 1, I just like had some extra time and I'm like, I'm just going to do another Killer Dolls. I think that's what it did, but I watched it before and I'm like, man. Yeah, with the cast like this, with such a pedigree in the directing and writing, that score, this movie rules, man. It's so fun seeing Anthony Hopkins just like the dark side we learned that he can be later.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
to see it this early and such a young man, it's so awesome. Yeah, this movie rules.
I think I saw this one, like not way back, but probably 10, 15 years ago on like AMC late night, maybe during Monster Fest or something around October. It was one that they used as filler late at night, and I'm like, why isn't no one ever talking about this? Like
Right?
the ventriloquist dummy is the creepiest of
yeah.
that I can think of out of like any ventriloquist movie that we have, more than Dead Silence, and it's just so well done because it's not an intentionally creepy ventriloquist dummy. It's just a ventriloquist dummy, and he actually. Do you guys know if he's actually like doing the voice for this? Because
Yeah, because if you watch the credits, Anthony Hopkins is credited twice. He's like first build and I think fourth or fifth build. Once as Corky and others as Fats.
very cool. Like he was fantastic.
he's-
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, he's professional, dude.
He could have another career, but
I mean, I don't know if he's doing the actual ventriloquism, but he's the
voice.
The voice, yeah.
and Yeah, I love it's just that 78 feel, the clothes, the look of the
Yes.
film stock, the lighting. It's actually like a well-made movie too. Like the cinematography and music is really good. It's not just like it's one that deserves a lot more credit than it gets. Like it should be in talks
Definitely.
as something up at the top, like an actual creepy ass movie. And yeah, fucking awesome. I love this one.
This is probably my favorite Anthony Hopkins performance.
Wow, nice.
I mean, I may be, probably piss people off when I say this, but I think this Hannibal Lecter, it's overrated.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it just is. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you guys on this one. Just the look and the feel, not just because I dig old films, but I was just so pleasantly surprised when I saw, when I was watching this. All of it's good. I mean, I think it's in a way, Tad mentioned Dead Silence, and in a way, I think this movie is actually a little bit more creepier than Dead Silence because it's
Absolutely.
more believable.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and just I think Burgess Meredith in it is just awesome. Um, like Anne Margaret, and just like uh, I love just the setting. It's just desolate enough to be, it's got a great intimate setting, just this lodging area that nobody ever really goes to anymore because, just I guess the vacationing spot, and they're in is it the Poconos or is it the Catskills? I can't remember.
Yes.
Like I guess it doesn't matter, but just this area is just it's not new. It's densely populated, so I mean they're not really completely off the grid, but they're just away enough to where you can't really get help there as quickly as you would like, and which adds to the tenseness of the situation. At least it did for me. Um, Yeah, just really, really, really good. And I learned that my wife actually has the novelization of this in her library. I was just like, oh,
Whoa, cool.
nice. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys. Love this one. I've seen it before. I used to have it on VHS, and I think I had seen a majority of this film way too young.
Right, because you did some
I
ventriloquism.
was a big fan of ventriloquist dummies and puppets when I was a kid. Very contrast, like most things in my life. I loved them. I had
Scared
two
them.
separate ventriloquist dummies, but they could not be left out in sight in my room when I went to sleep at night. Absolutely not. No. If I could see them staring at me in the dark, F that. Nope. So they had to be like put in the closet or something. Anyway, but yeah, so this is great. Yeah, Fats is really creepy. Such articulation in that ventriloquist dummy. Wow. Especially for the time, like everything in that on that face moves, eyebrows, eyes, all that stuff. So it's you you really there's moments in the movie not over the top but subtle enough of like you kind of question
Right. You don't know. It's
Yeah.
ambiguous through the whole thing.
because when Fats is talking and moving, he really comes to life in a sense. And then you get the scene with what happens to Ed Lauder, and that could have been that moment of like, oh, it is Fats. But then it's
Yeah.
revealed that it really wasn't. I thought that's my favorite sequence in the movie because that it's just so beautifully executed of the misdirect
Dancing that
of
line.
Yep.
Yeah, suspend your disbelief. And
Yep, exactly. Which goes to say too, like this whole movie is just it's it's a descent into this man's madness, but it's done on a completely flat, realistic level, scale of things. There's no like over the top, crazy camera work, unlike another film we're going to talk about that gives you kind of a false narrative because you're kind of seeing what craziness looks like through the eyes of the guy going crazy. It's all in his performance, and it's left that way of him degrading into what happens to him. So yes, great. Yes, and Margaret was very stunning in this one. Probably the best looking Anne Margaret to me, anyway. It's kind of a cool grumpy old men reunion, having Anne Margaret and Burgess Meredith in the same movie again.
Yeah.
But the best performer, my favorite actor in the whole film, was David Ogden Stiers.
You know it.
Winchester from MASH, man. He had a really good scene. Anyway.
Before we stop, I also really want to mention how freaking cool this poster is. I don't know if you guys have really looked at it. It's like the most simple horror movie poster ever. It's just like 2 colors.
That was the VHS box cover too.
It's got this little poem on it. It says, "Abracadabra, I sit on his knee. Presto changeo, and now he is me. Hocus pocus, we take her to bed. Magic is fun, we're dead." And so it's like, it's got a picture of the doll, but it's got this powder blue. That's just not normal for a horror movie poster. Yet it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, there was a trailer that aired on TV that had part of that poem where it like zoomed in on Fat's face, and he said, "We're dead." And apparently enough parents complained about it that they had to change it because it was scaring children.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I thought about bringing that up, but I
Horror
thought maybe
movie
you might
scaring
have that
people?
in trivia.
Yeah.
So.
How about that?
Yeah, so what do you have for trivia on this one, Tad?
There
Besides
is
that?
tons of really cool stuff. Gene Wilder was the original choice for Corky, and director Richard Attenborough and writer William Goldman wanted him, but producer Joseph Levine refused on the grounds he wanted no comedians in the movie to distract from the serious nature of the story. Norman Jewison wanted Jack Nicholson to star, but Nicholson turned it down, claiming he did not want to wear a hairpiece. At one point, Steven Spielberg was courted to direct, but he seriously considered Robert De Niro as Corky.
Oh, man.
So those are some recasting fun trivia. Gene Siskel ranked the movie at the number 9 spot of his 10 best films of 1978. And that says a lot because he hated horror.
Wow.
The Fats dummy was created specifically to look like Anthony Hopkins.
Succeeds.
Yeah, I never put that together, but I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, looking at it now, it has, similar
Sounds
features.
a lot like him, too.
Yeah. This movie was R.L. Stein's inspiration for the dummy Slappy in Goosebumps.
Cool.
And even has the same sounding voice as Fats. And to answer my question earlier, if I would have just read my own trivia, upon seeing Fats for the first time, Anthony Hopkins was allowed to take the doll home to work with it. However, he wound up being so unnerved by it that he called the consulting ventriloquist in the middle of the night, threatening to throw Fats into a canyon if someone didn't come and get the doll immediately. Director Richard Attenborough ended up going over to Hopkins' house to calm him down. But he did learn the magic tricks and the ventriloquism. So he
cool.
actually
Nice.
learned that. And another little thing on Gene Wilder. Many years after the film's release, Gene Wilder was asked at a book signing in New York City what role he wished he had gotten to play, and he said Corky in this film.
Oh, very cool.
So that's like his one missed it role.
Yeah.
But lots of cool stuff. If you like this movie, the trivia page is never ending. You just keep scrolling. But I thought that stuff was the most interesting.
Yeah, so check it out, everybody. If you've not seen this before or even heard of it before, check out Magic for sure.
It's on Tubi and on Peacock. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was really, yeah. Okay, so moving on to the best film we're going to talk about tonight. Andy, what's that?
This film
The greatest
is
film
from
of all time.
1981, and it's called Suddenly in the Dark.
Is it?
이번에 지리산 계곡에서 발견했습니다. 저건 뭐야? 그 일종의 희귀종인데?
누구예요?
여기란 아가씨야. 방황하고 있길래 내가 데리고 왔지.
여기가 이제부터 미역이 방이야.
무당은 저 애가 용두산 용신할매의 혼령을 받고 태어났다고.
아무나 보면 안 돼요. 내 거예요.
네 남편이 설마 그런 짓을 하겠니? 예, 너 사람 의심하는 것처럼 무서운 일은 없다.
그래서 내가 미칠 지경이야. 넌 누굴 죽이려고 그랬어? 네가 일부러 그랬지?
So many spoilers in that trailer.
What am I supposed to do?
Okay. Kang Yujin, a wealthy biology professor doing a butterfly field study, takes in a new housemaid. The young woman, Miyoki, is the daughter of a shaman priestess who recently died in a house fire. At first, Yujin and his wife, Sion-hee, welcome Miyoki into their home, but Sion-hee begins to have misgivings when she sees a strange wooden doll that the maid has brought with her. Having suffered from nightmares about exactly the same doll, Sion-hee becomes increasingly suspicious that Miyoki is trying to kill her and usurp her household. In a fit of madness, Sion-hee causes Miyoki to fall to her death. From then on, Sion-hee is tormented by visions of the doll attacking her. Okay, this comes from Korea, and I think
South
a lot of Asian films, particularly horror, they base them off of folklore from their culture. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. Okay.
This is clearly a true story.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Andy's lost for words.
Yeah, when that happens, you know.
It's yeah, it's so fucking boring. I'm so bored, dude.
He's bored talking about it.
It took forever because it was always just like, okay, you know, whenever something bad in the house would happen, like when something would, you know, break or a pot would fall, you know, I mean, just she would either blame Miyoki or, you know, suspect the doll, or she thought her husband was banging this chick, and every time that she would suspect something, I would have to look through a fucking kaleidoscope that would make no damn sense. And
it took way too long to get to the good part.
And then the good part was 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just her freaking out because this doll is attacking her, because I'm assuming the shaman priestess possesses the doll, and which is trying to avenge the death of her daughter that was, you know, that fell to her death after she was standing on a rickety ass, you know, stool, and she fell through a window and fell to her death. But yeah, it just, I mean, I know, you know, the way movies that are made now, they kind of, you know, they give you something good and then they let off the gas, you know, to, you know, make the movie last. But I mean, this didn't hit the gas until like the last 5 minutes. And it's just like, you gotta give us something to, you know, pique our interest. At least you got to do that with me, because I was just like, man, this was a slog. It was just her just always being accusatory and, you know, looking at butterfly slides, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so bored, dude. I hate you, Mike. When I was watching that,
he's just happy you're thinking about him.
Yeah.
You guys obviously know my opinion, but I mean, let's hear yours.
I jokingly was sort of, you know, like groaning about it because it obviously out of this episode my least favorite, but I had a lot I liked about it. It did drag a bit where it was like the same thing, like Andy was saying, over and over again. It's like, yeah, found the lighter in the bedroom. The pot fell
Right.
from the like all these little things keep happening. It's like, okay, we get it. Like, move on, please move on.
Hitting
Like,
us over the head with it, man.
right. But I mean, visually it was really cool. And there's a lot of weird like scenes where women are showering each other. So
Yeah.
I mean, at least there's that. I mean, and I don't know. Like I said, the cool final act of the film, that was pretty rad. I was not really expecting that after I sort of like zoned out and I'm like, am I missing anything? No, it's not that it's hard to follow. It's just that nothing's happening. Like, there's not much more to it. I mean, Andy really said it all. It's like, here we go. The doll keeps popping up and freaking her out. And is it the doll, or is she really going crazy, or is it, is this stuff really happening? And it does that for like an hour at least, like an hour and 20 minutes of the movie, and then we get a really cool finale. So not worth the payoff at the end, but not the worst film we've watched, probably even in the last couple episodes.
But yeah, it's like you get to the good. By the time you get to the good stuff, you're so I was so frustrated, I didn't even give a shit.
Yeah.
The movie just drags on way too long. It's mostly melodrama with 10 minutes of horror right at the end. When the horror stuff happens, it's cool, but just the look and the feel and the aesthetic. Again, we're talking, that late 70s, early 80s feel. The score, I really was digging on the score. Just the ugly color of their house, the interiors of their house. I just freaking loved it. And just some of the atmosphere things that they did, which was very, again, 70s, early 80s type of thing. Like the stormy night stuff was super cool. Mm-hmm. Was really fun, atmospheric, kind of like old school haunted house kind of atmosphere building. So I think there's some good qualities to it that I enjoyed, but I will say, personally, I've never been more bored with multiple shower and bath scenes.
How dare you?
It was
Who are you?
Much too long and yeah. And that's
I hope
all.
There was a drain on the bathroom floor because she was sitting on the damn floor. She's just rinsing her off. I'm like,
and that's
all right.
That's all. That's all she did in the whole goddamn movie was take showers, like every time.
And that's okay. That was part of the two things I was going to say.
That's only okay if your brakes begins.
One last thing I will say, and this is for Andy, in Slack, in hashtag episode ideas, Tad Good, February 17th at 2:35 p.m. Killer Dolls 2, Megan, The Pit, Magic, Dead Silence, Dolly Dearest, Suddenly in the Dark.
Oh.
So you can't put it all on me.
Oh.
Busted.
Yeah, but you gave it the go-ahead. You gave it the seal of approval. So, I mean, I can't
I gave you
really
options, and you picked it.
That's also true. You ultimately decided, boss.
Hey, I'm just saying I can't take all the blame.
That's true.
That's true. I'll take some. That's okay. I have nothing else. Like I said, I mean, at least there's nudity.
Yeah, that was one of the few things I agree with everything you guys said. The nudity helped me get to the next section of the movie. You know what I mean? Like right when I was about to turn it off, it's like, all right, there's some nudity.
Wake up, look up from your phone.
All right, I'll get to the next. No, it wasn't on my phone because it's fucking. It wasn't.
Subtitles.
It's fine that it's subtitles. I don't hate. I love subtitles. I don't enjoy dubs, but when I start a movie, it's on me. But when I decided to start watching at midnight, reading is the last thing.
Sailor Moon anime right now.
Your eyes are crossing. It's
it's tough. But the other things I like, it's like it's hard to or the 70s, 80s film stuff, all that stuff. But I love seeing there's just something about an Asian film, just all those qualities. Just seeing just looking at the fucking furniture in their rooms, that shit's fucking awesome.
I mean, it did have a nice, look and feel to it. I'll give it that.
100% agree.
So I
loved all that stuff personally.
That red big ass shag carpeting and
I love some of the decor, like the two cobras with the mongoose.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah,
that they just kept focusing on through the
just
entire
getting
movie.
that glimpse into the culture. It's just great, and I like. I'll always, not mind it for that for sure.
I just want to know: is it bad filmmaking, or is it actually part of the culture to put your phone on an end table type of thing that's got these like bars on either end of it, and to dial the phone, they reach through that bar to dial it every single time?
I don't.
It's just weird. It's just weird. Or when
you have to earn that phone call,
right?
Or when she was getting gassed out and about ready to pass out, and she was like toppling over there in the kitchen from the gas. She
damn near yanked the fucking stove off the counter.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, they don't connect shit to the wall overseas? What the fuck?
I feel like that was Tor Johnson playing 9 from Outer Space moment.
It sort of felt like an Asian giallo. Like it looked like visually almost
I
a
wanted
70s giallo. Yeah.
Yeah, it really had an Italian feel to it for me. Yeah. Okay.
It's like it's like the saturation, and then you get the color gels and and the kaleidoscope shit. You would see I could see something like that in an Argento movie, but it has its
overused
merits.
it, though, I think
it does.
It does.
Yeah.
So what trivia do you got for this one?
Not a thing. There's nothing on the internet. I search high and low.
Most people don't even know this exists.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like Jason sort of alluded to, we were looking for it. It goes by different titles depending on what website you're looking at. So
yeah,
I'll even heck of a time tracking
not
this
that
thing down.
Anyone after listening to this is going to look for it. They'll just Google for
our listeners. The worse we make it sound, the harder they watch something.
Godskill's just going to go on Mr. Skin or whatever and check out the nude scenes.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tad, what's the next movie we're going to talk about?
I'm so excited. The next one is a new modern horror movie, and it is from 2022. It's Megan.
Katie, you lost your parents.
Welcome home.
You're my niece. I'm going to do everything I can to make this place feel like home.
Just wish I could see them again.
I'm not equipped to handle this. I don't even take care of my own plants. I have this project at work. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Ever since I was little, I dreamed of this perfect toy that would protect a kid from ever feeling lonely or sad. This is Megan.
Hi, Megan. I'm Katie. It's nice to meet you, Katie. Do you want to hang out? Okay.
Megan, your goal is to protect Katie from harm, both physical and emotional.
Is that a doll?
Model 3 generative android. Megan, for short.
I can't believe you made this. I love it.
Wanna hang out, yeah, sounds like fun.
Great job.
It's nice to have a friend.
It's honestly like she's part of the family now.
They could be building emotional connections that are too hard to untangle.
She's the happiest she's been since her parents died. Eat the toppings, Katie.
Research shows if you force a child to eat vegetables, they'll be less likely to choose those foods as adults.
Is that so?
Yes. Experts say...
Megan, turn off.
I thought we were having a conversation.
Does she talk? Make her say something.
Stop! Don't! Megan! You should probably run. Megan, did you push Brandon onto the road? I won't let anything harm you.
Megan, turn off.
Recalibrating response model. Megan! What's wrong? Don't worry, Katie. I won't let anything harm you. Ever again.
It's nice to have a friend.
All right. And then when I said 2022, I was looking at IMDb. Technically, it came out in January 2023. So this is sort of the first new horror movie of the year. A robotics engineer at a toy company builds a lifelike doll that begins to take on a life of its own. Directed by Gerard Johnstone, who did some really cool stuff. He did Housebound from 2014. I love that one.
Oh, nice.
Written by Akilah Cooper and Mr. James Wan. I don't know if you heard of him, but he's a pretty big deal. Starring Allison Williams, who I love in this. I mean, come on, a smart, hot chick who has collectibles and no kids, like,
Yeah.
like,
Well, not anymore.
Hello.
yeah, and I just, this movie like sort of just came like out of nowhere for me. In the trailer, I was like, I don't know about this, but this looks like fun. This did everything that I wanted. Like, I wish sort of that the Child's Play reboot did. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's very campy, very fun. Very creepy. I love that it sort of. I mean, did you guys watch this in theaters or did you see it streaming?
Sadly, I saw it streaming.
My TV's so big, it's like.
Well, I'm asking because you probably saw the uncut version on Peacock, right?
That's what I watched.
Because I saw this in theaters, the PG-13 version. Then I watched it again, the uncut version, and it's so cool because it's like. My niece she's 10, and my sister was like, do you think like Megan would be okay for her? And I'm like, well, the one I saw in theaters would be okay. And she's like, okay, well, we'll watch the unrated cut because that's what's on Peacock. And then she's like,
oops,
dude, they kill a woman with a pressure washer. And I'm like, yeah, that wasn't in the theatrical version. There's a lot more stuff, but it's just cool that like, you can have a gateway horror out of this, but we also have this version that has the gore to it. But man, I really adore this one. Basically, Allison Williams is a single woman who's very smart, creates robotics. She works at a toy company. On the side, she's creating this AI project without her boss's approval. And once her boss sort of catches it, she's in some trouble. But in the meantime, her niece is in an accident with her parents. The parents died, the niece survives, and she is the godmother, so she has to take over parental duty. She's obviously not at all ready for this, so she sees an opportunity. How about I help my niece out, and we also test out this new Megan AI robot, of course. AI is something that's been something, I mean, we just did, like the technology or internet horror episode, and very much Dark Seed also, but obviously Megan is starts to learn on her own, and maybe it's me, but there's certain parts where you're sort of rooting for Megan, right? I mean, it's like when little kid's being shitty and she's chasing him through the woods. That's fucking awesome. Rips off his ear, throws him in front of a moving car. It's like. It's like this goes way back, Terminator, everything. But I love that there's like this Blumhouse sort of gateway horror out of this doll, and there's some really funny moments of it too. There's some humor to it. I adore this one. I hope everyone else enjoys it too. It'd be a bummer if any of you hated this one.
No, I'm with you. I really enjoyed it too. I loved it. I mean, it's not reinventing any wheels or anything. It's putting a cool new spin on some subgenres that we've seen before. I felt like there was a little bit of hint of Child's Play in there, and you mentioned Terminator and stuff like that. But the the Megan doll herself is awesome looking. The way they did that with that actress is super cool. I feel like I don't. If I'm gonna nitpick about any singular thing, and it is a super nitpick, so minuscule it doesn't matter. But just like I just felt like there was a few times she was inconsistent with the movements. Like there was times where she moved really robotic-like, and then other times she walked like a normal person.
But do you think it was like her learning?
It could be, and I could be okay with that concept.
I was going to touch on that. I think the movie stems really well on that. I mean, if she was walking like, fucking RoboCop, it would take me right out of the movie. But
I just
but
imagined
if she was,
it.
but if she was walking too fluid, it would kind of take me out of the movie too. So I mean, I think she had like almost like the perfect balance, by the way that the way that she moved, and I think that's really important.
Like one of my favorite scenes is that in that hallway where she meets the boss that we all sort of hate. He's the greedy. Yeah, she does the dance moves, like the TikTok dance. That's fucking, and she starts doing like cartwheels and shit. That's fucking awesome because it's like kids that age can't do that. So it's like it's very fluid, but it's also like only a robot could be pulling this off, And then she grabs the paper cutter blade. I love that shit. That scene is so good because it's hilarious too.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the final battle at the end. I loved how that early robot comes back.
I was going to mention that too. You're taking all my shit, man.
That's why I jumped in.
Well, it's what it reminded me of is Aliens. It was like, get away from her, you bitch, and where she's in like the loader, and it's like it just reminded me of Aliens. It's like you get this other machine to kind of try to take her out. So
yeah, I'm done. I loved it.
Well, so am I. That's all I had to say.
Oh, okay.
I too loved it. It was great. You guys said all the good stuff. Dang it.
I thought you were going to go, actually.
Here's the thing,
Here's
guys.
the thing.
No, I don't want to bum you out. This movie was awesome. I loved it. Yeah, sucked right in. I mean, I feel so bad for that girl and for Katie and I mean, it's toys. That's cool. And I hated the boss guy. He sucked, so I'm glad he died.
I just had this thought. I'd say the most unrealistic thing of this whole movie is a toy company saying that this is the only toy you'll ever need.
That's funny. If I had a nitpick, it'd just be sometimes. I mean, when Ted first saw this, he said things, and I half listen when you guys talk. So I remember him saying like cool trivia things about Megan and the actress, and so like I'm really looking forward to trivia on this one because I'm hoping they'll say all that stuff again.
Yeah.
But the things I loved about Megan was just that it looked like a plastic robot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's amazing.
She looked really good.
But there were times where I thought the face looked CGI and not plastic.
Okay.
Like it wasn't actually a mask; it was probably CGI'd.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was like, oh, it just not that it took me out or anything, but I'm just like, dang it, I really like the plastic. Or like when you see your hands and it's just a doll's hands touching your face. I'm like, that's fucking creepier than seeing articulated fingers. But anyway, why do they always go bad? But I thought the story wise they did a pretty great job of explaining it. Even though I fucking hated the counselor lady, I mean from the beginning before shit even went bad, like she needs to die right away.
Make me open my vintage toys.
Right, walks right into the room and is automatically talking down to her and being condescending. Yep.
Hated her bad. But yeah, so it was awesome, man.
I'll tell my sister, like, this is pretty, she doesn't listen, it's okay. When my niece was born 10 years ago, she came to me and Nikki and was like, would you like to be the godparents? We're like, what does that entail? And it's like, well, if something were to happen to me and Andrew, you would like be the parents. And I'm like, no.
Fuck
and she was like, what? Like, almost offended. And I'm like, no, like we planned long ago. We don't want kids regardless. Like you do not want your daughter to be parented by us. Like I have an older brother who has two boys. Like she would flourish much more there. And I'm like, watch this movie and I will explain why in, 90 minutes why I would not be a
There's
fit.
reasons I don't
Right.
want kids.
Yeah, and this movie is like, I felt like
Yeah.
I related to her character so much where I'm like, I got my own shit going on. I don't have time for a kid, and I would probably do something stupid like go downstairs and play with my toys, or let me try to build you a distraction, which would just turn into something horrible. But before, but before I forget, because you were just talking about it, I gotta pull up a couple of these facts on the trivia just because you were questioning it. Amy Donald, an actress, performed any of Megan's scenes that called for physical movement the puppet could not do. She also performed all of her own stunt work. She received movement coaching from Jed Brophy and Luke Hawker in portraying Megan's agility. On set, she wore a static silicone Megan mask created by Moratone or Morot FX, and this was later replaced by a CGI version of Megan's face to match that of the animatronic. So certain scenes when the actual actress was doing it and the mask was sort of couldn't create facial expressions is when you saw that CGI. But Adrian Morot and Kathy Tessie of Moro FX Studios created an animatronic puppet version of Megan that was used for dialogue and close-ups. There was also a second animatronic used for certain scenes, as well as a posable stunt version of Megan that wasn't puppeteered. The animatronic Megan was puppeteered via a variety of techniques, which included radio-controlled facial expressions performed by Adrian and Kathy in tandem, automated lip sync for the dialogue, and a puppeteer physically moving Megan's head and body. So a big combination, several actual puppets and actresses combined to create this.
A lot of physical.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That scene where they bring her home for the first time and she walks in wearing his sunglasses and pulls them off, like for some reason that is so eerie to me. Like the first sort of time we see Megan not up on like a
harnesses and stuff.
Yeah, like hooked up, like when she's just existing and she like casually pulls off the sunglasses and it seems so human.
She doesn't feel like she's performing,
right?
She's not
And the face
displayed.
is like, but the face is like it's like the same height as the girl, but it's like the skin is perfect and the eyes something just slightly off about it, but it's not like done intentionally creepy. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like in Child's Play where like the good guy doll was scary, and because it was a good guy doll, and this is like an innocent little girl doll that sings Bulletproof. It's adorable, but shit's gonna go down later, and
gives off that bad seed vibe.
Yeah, and this movie is like short and sweet. I love that it's like the opposite of the other one, where it's like there's not a moment that drags. It just gets to it. Like we know what's gonna happen. I hate that it kills the dog. I hate that kind of stuff. But it's like this is it's like it feels like an 80s movie, but modernized in a way where it's like you would see this sort of mean stuff where the thing would kill the neighbor's dog because the neighbors are a pain in the ass, and and when the scene when she's on all fours chasing the kid through the forest is fucking cool. Like I love that.
Oh yeah.
I was like laughing in the theater just because it's so like why is she getting on all fours? It's so weird, but it's
she
scary.
goes off on a full gallop, man.
Yeah,
She's hauling ass too.
Yeah, she is hunting. It's awesome, and that little shit deserved it.
That kid was a dick. Why couldn't the dog attacked him, man?
Exactly.
Chew his throat out.
All right. Do you have any other trivia for this one, Tad?
There's all kinds of stuff. Megan's voice is modeled in part from another famous AI gone rogue, GLaDOS from Portal. This is the most notable during scenes where Megan's voice is auto-tuned in order to sound glitchy. So this idea began with James Wan's Atomic Monster Productions was brainstorming story ideas and chose one about a killer doll. Even though he had already done Annabelle, he said pretty much the concept is embracing technology too much and relying too much on it and what happens when technology runs amok. It's a commentary on the world we live in, and it feels relevant. So, it is sort of that cheeky, like, this is the doll's reacting to our own shitty world. It's learning from shitty people and it's reacting to it. It doesn't, that's what would happen with AI, and we're learning that, and it's sort of scary. This is sort of cool. once the first trailer went viral on TikTok with teenagers, that's when Universal had the movie retooled to get a PG-13 audience. But it did not have... It originally shot as an R-rated movie, but they were so close. They only had like a few little things to change to get to PG-13. They thought, why not just tone it down a little bit to sort of get that audience that was on TikTok and loving it. So very smart on them, because they made a ton of money on this. A sequel's been greenlit. There's going to be a whole Megan universe. Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll get Chucky versus Megan.
Ooh, don't say shit like that.
I think
that's awesome.
I was gonna say, I don't think Chucky's. Well, he's Universal, which works with. I'm just trying to think of
just the paperwork involved.
Yeah, the paperwork, because Annabelle is the same, producer and writer,
Oh, yeah.
so they can do that.
Yeah, but Annabelle doesn't do anything. Like, she doesn't.
Yeah, she's boring.
She's just literally just a doll that's possessed. So it doesn't move around.
Lydia was originally killed by Megan during her rampage at Funky Toys, as she had upset Katie by making her cry during a therapy session. When the film was recut to PG-13, her death scene was removed from the final cut, and she ultimately survives, though her sudden disappearance from the film is never explained. So they sort of didn't fill up that loophole when they took her death scene out.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love this one. Thank you for letting us do this one. I've been trying to fit it.
For it for a while.
Yeah.
I just gave up.
Yeah, I was like, can we do it? How about internet? How about tech horror? How about, and it's like dolls? Okay, I'm just gonna keep putting in everything.
You did. You put it in.
We're gonna do let's just do an episode about horses. Oh, Megan would be good for that.
little girls. What?
What? No, Dad.
Power washers.
Yes. Dad tried everything.
Finally got it.
Congratulations.
Did Simon watch this with you?
No. Brandy did, but Simon did not. No.
It seems. I mean, he's about that age where.
Oh, he probably would have dug it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it seems like they're targeting almost his age group, which in the theaters, like I saw it in a packed theater, and people were having a blast. Like it was a fun movie to watch with a crowd.
I bet.
All right, well, that's it for the films for this episode. But hey, there's still more Attack of the Killer podcast to come. We're going to take a quick break, and so you can hear about our podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. And when we return, we'll be doing segments. The PFPN, our podcast network, is now home to over 30 different shows, like 10 Podcast Lane. 10 Podcast Lane is a show that deals with horror, myths, legends, and more horror. There are tens of thousands of stories out there relating to ghosts, monsters, and hauntings. Some well-known, others not so much. This podcast deals with as many as possible. 10 Podcast Lane will deliver with horror and an eerie mood to give you, the listener, the best horror experience in the pod world.
It's a good show. There's two things. One is an Irish dude, so you get the cool accent. And they're short episodes, so they're like 15, 20 minutes. You're like, yeah.
So check out 10 Podcast Lane and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. And it's segments time here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. We're going to start, as we always do, hearing from you guys, the listeners. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for
Shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite killer doll movies? And you guys let us know. Let's start off with a little 1-2 punch from the newest podcast on the network, Screams from the Basement. We got Casey Kelderman. Attacker Casey says, Stuart Gordon's Dolls.
Hells to the yeah.
And then following up, we got Sam Lenz. He says, Chucky is my ride or die, but I got to give some love to Dead Silence, James Wan's most underrated flick.
Agreed.
Is that so? Okay,
it's good.
Unanimous? All right.
I need to rewatch it. It's been a long time. Can we do Dolls 3? Killer Dolls 3?
And then we got James M. Hedrick says, nothing.
James, sweet.
James, yeah, he just posted a picture of the Trilogy of Terror doll.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
That was on Facebook. Over on our Facebook group, the group edition, we got Attacker Abe Kirshner says, if you're going by the trailer, Teddy in the pit. But in the actual movie, that plot line gets lost about halfway through the movie. Either way, it's ridiculous 80s fun.
I love the pit so much.
Like
That
way
movie's
too much.
Great.
Yeah.
Dolls Part 3.
I'm a baby oopsie daisy guy myself.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then we got Attacker Hot Rod Hutchinson.
Have we done baby horror? Sorry.
We should.
I don't know. We should.
That's pretty sensitive stuff there.
Well, it makes me want to watch It's Alive again.
They scare the shit out of me.
And like Hot Rod was saying, he says, I'll just put it out there since no one is saying it, but Chucky from Child's Play is probably the greatest killer doll ever, followed by the Zuni Fetish doll from Trilogy of Terror 1 and 2.
There we go.
Chucky's king. You're right,
He
Rod.
is king. Have you watched season 2 yet? I haven't watched any of it.
I've gotten like halfway through it, and it's like no one will put it streaming anywhere, so I have to watch it through YouTube TV with commercials. I had to fast forward. Like, that's a buzzkill for me.
See, that's what I'm waiting for, is for stream somewhere.
Yeah.
But season 1 fucking rules.
It was great.
Season 2 is pretty wild. It's
It
like
keeps up.
It does, but it's like it's getting confusing as to no spoilers, but there's just too many Chuckies.
Oh yeah.
There's a ripped Chucky that has abs. It's so like, what the fuck is happening?
Too many at the end of the first one. Yeah. All right, and then nothing on Twitter, but over on the Instagram, we got Old School Video Inc. The Reapster. Dolls is the absolute favorite. Got to give love to Dolly Dearest.
Do you?
Yep.
And the great Tim Thomerson in Doll Man versus the Demonic Toys.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. It can't
Movie
be
that's
good.
75% footage from the other two films.
I say not one mention of Puppet Master.
Yeah. No love for Puppet Master.
Oh.
Must not be.
Yeah.
Since that watch along we had went off so well.
Yeah, the commentary. Hopefully the last time I watched Puppet Master.
But it's not too late if you. Oh, what is that? What is that over there?
Does he see a red light?
I do. It's blinking.
Oh, here we go.
Hey everybody, Attacker Brian here for my bi-weekly phone call. It sounds like we're talking killer dolls this episode, and I have a house full of creepy dolls because I have a 4-year-old. But if we're talking creepy dolls movies, we go Megan, Child's Play, Puppet Master,
there we go,
Dolls, 1987, and my favorite killer doll mannequin movie, Pen. Is Pen real? Is Pen not real? Are you just fucking insane? I'm not sure. If you're listening to this, it's probably the last one. If you guys have a good week, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Godzilla. And if you want to leave a voicemail like he did, you can give us a call at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. We'll play it on the show. We're almost done, but we've got one more segment to go. It's time for Insane's Picks.
So I picked a movie for Insane's Picks, and a movie I haven't seen in forever, and then I watched it to prepare for the show. And after watching it, I debated if I should cover this film on Insane's Picks. In this day and age, it can be a little bit triggering. But from the depths of 80s exploitation films and from the vaults of trauma, I'm going to be talking about Surf Nazis Must Die from 1987. The film is a mix of 80s surf culture mixed with post-apocalyptic action and exploitation revenge flicks. Directed by Peter George, it stars Gail Neely, Barry Brenner, Bobby Breezy, Michael Sunny, a.k.a. Dookie Flyswatter, and Robert Hardin. This was released and distributed by Troma Films. It's not a Troma movie per se, but it was released by Troma Entertainment. Synopsis. An earthquake leaves the California coastline in ruins and reduces the beaches to a state of chaos. A group of neo-Nazis led by Adolf fights for control against several rival surfer gangs to seize control of the beaches. Meanwhile, an African-American man named Leroy is killed by the surf Nazis while jogging on the beach. Leroy's mother, Mama Washington, devastated by the loss of her son, now vows revenge. After arming herself with a handgun and grenades, she breaks out of her retirement home and exacts vengeance on the surf Nazis. This film is not for everyone, with its themes of race and neo-Nazism. It can be a bit shocking. They definitely use certain words way too much. Lots of Nazi symbolism. And a lot of racial stereotypes. So just want to warn you before getting into
exploitation.
What's that?
It's exploitation.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. But just want to kind of give you that warning before you go out and check it out. But I think it's worth a watch. I like this movie. If you can look past all that stuff, it's such a crazy blend of all these different genres. And I think they do a decent job blending it well enough. It definitely drags in some parts, but it's definitely worth it for Mama Washington's revenge scenes at the end. So if you can't decide if you're in a mood for exploitation or surfing movies, post-apocalyptic cinema, hardcore action, or a revenge film, why not all in one with Surf Nazis Must Die?
Nice. That's a debate we all have, for sure.
Absolutely. So that's it for this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. You can check out more of Attack of the Killer Podcast on our YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook. We have Instagram, right?
Yeah, and you do that
Instagram,
TikTok thing.
And yes, even now,
what the heck?
We have TikTok.
You, Old Man Mike's got this TikTok. It's just baffling.
Yeah,
it's kind of awesome.
It's fun, yeah.
It's been a couple months now since we've had it, and I've done almost 80 videos now.
So follow his ass on TikTok.
That's right. And if that's still not enough Attack of the Killer Podcast in your life, consider becoming an attacker. Again, that website, jointheattackers.com. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll let you go now so you can go play with your dolls, and we'll talk to you all next time.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Attack of the Killer!